Humanity has always been obsessed with the sky. For thousands of years we looked up at the birds and felt a deep existential jealousy. We wrote myths about Icarus flying too close to the sun. We had Leonardo da Vinci sketching flying machines. We eventually poured billions of dollars, decades of research, and the greatest scientific minds on the planet to create the aerospace industry. Wright Flyer, the Apollo rockets, and the Boeing 747. Aviation is a science of absolute unforgiving precision. It requires aerodynamics, thermodynamics, and profound respect for the laws of physics. Or at least, that's what the government wants you to believe. Welcome to the Aviation Void. Today we are going to look at a man who completely bypassed the military-industrial complex. A man who looked at the multi-billion-dollar aviation industry and said, I can do that for about $300. We're traveling to Los Angeles in the summer of 1982 to meet Larry Walters, a truck driver with no pilot's license, no engineering degree, and absolutely zero understanding of atmospheric pressure. He didn't build a plane. He bought an aluminum lawn chair from Sears, tied 45 weather balloons to it, and accidentally launched himself into the stratosphere. In this video we are going to explore the ultimate triumph of American idiocy over the laws of gravity. We will look at the sheer terror of freezing to death in a Patio chair, the absolute confusion of the commercial airline pilots, and what happens when a guy with a pellet gun invades the airspace of the second busiest airport in the United States. Fasten your seatbelts, or don't. Larry certainly didn't have one. To understand how a man accidentally becomes an unguided missile, you have to understand the dream. Larry Walters was a 33-year-old truck driver from San Pedro, California. Ever since he was a kid, Larry wanted to fly. He wanted to join the United States Air Force, but he was rejected because of poor eyesight. Now, a normal person who gets rejected by the Air Force might take up building model airplanes or maybe buy a ticket on a commercial flight, but Larry was operating deep inside the psychic void. He decided that if the government wouldn't let him fly a multi-million-dollar fighter jet, he would just build his own aircraft in his backyard. His engineering blueprint was a masterpiece of redneck ingenuity. He went to a local surplus store and bought 45 heavy-duty weather balloons. These weren't party balloons. These were 80-foot wide, military-grade neoprene spheres designed to carry meteorological equipment into the upper atmosphere. He then went to Sears Roebuck and bought a standard aluminum lawn chair. He named his glorious vessel Inspiration 1. Let's review Larry's pre-flight checklists. If you're NASA, your payload includes oxygen tanks, pressurized suits, and telemetry sensors. Larry's payload consists of the following: a CB radio, an altimeter, a camera, a few sandwiches, a six-pack of Miller Lite beer, and a pellet gun. Why the pellet gun, you ask? Because Larry's master plan was to tie the lawn chair to his friend's Jeep, fill the balloons with helium, and then gently float about 30 feet above his backyard. He would sit there, drink a few beers, enjoy the view, and when he was ready to come down, he would simply shoot a few balloons with the pellet gun to slowly descend. It sounds like a cartoon. It sounds like something Wile E. Coyote would invent to catch a roadrunner. But Larry forgot one crucial, terrifying variable: the lifting power of helium. He didn't do the math, he didn't calculate the displacement of gas, he just bought several massive tanks of industrial helium and filled all 45 balloons to the max capacity. July 2nd, 1982, launch day. Larry sits in his lawn chair in the backyard. He has his sandwiches, he has his beer, he has his pellet gun. The chair is tethered to the bumper of his friend's Jeep with a few nylon ropes. His friends cut the anchor ropes, expecting the chair to gently bob up to the end of the tether line. Instead, the sheer violent kinetic force of 45 fully inflated weather balloons snapped the primary tether line like a piece of cheap sewing thread. Larry didn't float, he was launched. I want you to visualize the sheer pants-sweating terror of this exact moment. You're sitting in a chair designed for a Sunday barbecue, you're holding a beer, and suddenly you're accelerating straight up in the sky at the rate of 1,000 feet per minute. You're moving so fast that your glasses are pinned to your face. You look down and your house is gone. Your neighborhood is a grid. The entire city of Los Angeles is shrinking beneath your feet. Larry's plan to go up 30 feet was instantly vaporized. He shot through the clouds. He didn't stop at 1,000 feet. He didn't stop at 5,000 feet. Larry Walters, sitting in an aluminum lawn chair, ascended to 16,000 feet. That's over 3 miles high. At 16,000 feet, the air is incredibly thin. Hypoxia, like oxygen deprivation, starts to set in. You become dizzy and confused, and the temperature... It was the middle of the summer in Los Angeles, but at 16,000 feet the temperature drops to near freezing. Larry was wearing a t-shirt and shorts. He was paralyzed with fear. He couldn't shoot the balloons with his pellet gun because he realized that if he shot too many, the chair would become unbalanced, tip over, and dump him into a 3-mile free fall. So he just sat there, freezing, terrified, gripping the plastic armrests of the Sears Patio furniture, drifting silently through the stratosphere. Now, if freezing to death in a lawn chair wasn't bad enough, Larry had drifted into a new, much more illegal problem. He had caught the wind currents and was now floating directly into the primary approach corridor of Los Angeles International Airport, one of the busiest, most heavily trafficked commercial aerospace on the planet. Welcome to the airspace void. At 16,000 feet, commercial airlines are making their final descent protocols. The pilots are highly trained professionals, scanning the horizon for other massive aluminum tubes filled with their jet fuel. They are not looking for a guy from San Pedro drinking a Miller Lite. Imagine the radio chatter in the LAX control tower. A pilot from the Trans World Airlines flight keys his microphone. LAX tower, this is TWA 15. We just passed a guy in a lawn chair. The tower responding, TWA 15, please repeat, did you say a lawn chair? Affirmative tower, he's at our 9 o'clock and it looks like he's holding a gun. A few minutes later, a Delta Airlines pilot reported the exact same thing. The Federal Aviation Administration completely lost its mind. They had an unidentified, unregistered, radar-invisible aircraft floating through a commercial flight path, armed with a weapon. They didn't know if it was a Soviet spy device, a terrorist, or a UFO. Meanwhile, Larry, sitting up there, shivering uncontrollably, watching Boeing 727s roar past him. He finally managed to grab a CB radio and broadcast the distress signal to an emergency channel. The emergency operator asked him to identify his aircraft, and Larry, with the absolute deadpan honesty of a man who has escaped his own death, replied, "It's a lawn chair. I have 45 weather balloons attached to it." This guy. After floating in the freezing dead zone for over 2 hours, Larry realized that if he didn't do something, he was going to drift out over the Pacific Ocean and disappear forever. He had to use his pellet gun. With his hands shaking from the freezing cold, pure adrenaline, Larry aimed the gun upwards and shot a few of the balloons. Pop, pop, pop. It worked. The chair slowly began to lose altitude. He was descending, but because Larry Walters was a walking disaster area, the universe wasn't going to let him land smoothly. In his frozen, hypoxic state, Larry accidentally dropped a pellet gun. It fell 10,000 feet into the city below. He was now completely at the mercy of the wind. He had no steering, no brakes, and no way to pop any more balloons. He drifted down over to the city of Long Beach, and as he got closer to the ground, he realized he was heading directly for the residential neighborhood. Now, landing an aircraft requires a runway. Landing a lawn chair requires a miracle. Larry didn't get a miracle, he got a Long Beach electrical grid. The dangling tether ropes of Larry's chair caught on a massive set of high-voltage power lines. The chair violently jerked to a halt, leaving Larry dangling just a few feet above the asphalt. The balloons tangled in the wires, causing a massive short circuit. Larry Walters had successfully survived a 16,000-foot flight, only to instantly cause a 20-minute blackout across the entire neighborhood of Long Beach. He unclipped himself, climbed down the tether, and stepped into a solid ground. He was alive, he was freezing, terrified, and probably severely dehydrated, but he had done it, he had flown. And waiting for him on the ground was the Los Angeles Police Department. When the police arrested Larry, they were genuinely confused. You can't arrest a man for flying a lawn chair because there is no specific law in the penal code that says thou shall not attach weather balloons to patio furniture. They handed him over to FAA. The federal aviation regulators were absolutely furious. This guy had made a mockery of their multi-billion-dollar airspace security. They wanted to throw the book at him, but then again, what book do you throw? The FAA literally had to invent charges. They initially fined him $4,000 for operating a civil aircraft for which there is not currently in effect an airworthiness certificate. They classified the Sears launcher as a civil aircraft. They also charged him with operating an aircraft within the airport traffic area without establishing two-way communication with the control tower. Larry appealed the fine. He argued that Lawnchair is not an aircraft. The FAA, realizing that arguing the aerodynamic properties of Patio furniture in a federal court would make them look like complete idiots, eventually reduced the fine to $1,500. When reporters warned Larry after his release, they asked him the only question that mattered: why? Why would you do this? Larry Walters looked at the cameras and delivered a quote that should be engraved on the Statue of Liberty. He said, "A man can't just sit around." The story of Lawnchair Larry is the ultimate American paradox. It is a story of astronomical stupidity combined with an absolutely beautiful, unyielding refusal to accept the boundaries of reality. We live in a world of gatekeepers. If you want to do something great, society tells you that you need a degree, you need funding, you need permits, and you need permission. The FAA tells you that you can't fly unless you spend $100,000 on flight school and buy a Cessna. Larry Walters proved that the gatekeepers are an illusion. He proved that if you're willing to risk freezing to death, getting sucked into a jet engine, and electrocuting the entire neighborhood, you can bypass the entire system with a trip to a hardware store. I'm not telling you to tie balloons to a chair. Please, for the love of God, do not do that. But I am telling you to respect the spirit of the act. Larry looked at the sky, realized he didn't have the money or the credentials to get there, and decided to go anyway. He hacked the atmosphere. Next time someone tells you your goals are impossible or that you don't have the right qualifications to succeed, just remember the truck driver who invaded commercial airspace with a six-pack of beer and a pellet gun. Stay strange, stay sharp, and whatever you do, hold on to your pellet gun. See ya.